Why the Goldback? Goldbacks are a series of voluntary local currencies that are minted by Valorum Inc. and authorized by state and constitutional law. Physically, a goldback is an extremely difficult to counterfeit, hyperfractional gold money product that is in a convenient or even ideal weight of gold to transact with day-to-day purchases. But why is this so revolutionary, and why should one care? Many of you will be familiar with gold coins such as the American Gold Eagle or maybe the Philharmonic. You probably are also familiar with gold bars. These come in all sorts of sizes and weights and can be a great option for stacking for weight. But what if you want to have your gold in a form that can be used as money? To be able to use the wealth you've stored up in gold to actually purchase goods and services without first selling it to a coin store for dollars. That may be a bit difficult if your smallest gold bar is worth $2,200 or even smaller at $80. Maybe you're a prepper, or maybe you just believe in sound money. You may be uncomfortable with using an all-electric cashless currency system, which is the way the world seems to be headed. Or maybe you want to be able to buy ammunition when the lights go out and the zombies come. Whatever your motivation is, there doesn't seem to be very many options other than just to fall in line and use some digital currency that's backed by thin air. Before we consider where we might go, let's first consider where we have been. In the US, it used to be the case that the US dollar was as good as gold. This was because each dollar was actually a coupon for a certain amount of gold securely stored in a vault. These gold IOU notes could be traded in day-to-day transactions in lieu of trading physical gold, meaning people wouldn't have to lug around non-durable coins that were both extremely valuable, heavy, and easily fakeable. They also could have peace of mind knowing that the metals backing up their IOU notes were safe and sound, locked up tight, and under armed guard. Unfortunately, those days are far behind us, and sadly, they are not going to be returning. The gold standard is long gone, and the US dollar loses its purchasing power more and more every single day as a consequence. This was even true prior to 1971 when Nixon temporarily suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold. It is becoming increasingly likely that digital currencies will become the new world standard and will probably be significantly even worse than the unbacked fiat IOUs that we have today, and are also more effortlessly manipulated by the invisible hand issuing and controlling them. With this revelation, the future seems quite bleak. Fortunately, we have not considered all options yet. If only we didn't need a note to promise us gold to transact with in small everyday purchases. If only we could simply have a coin that's a small enough amount of gold to be used to purchase everyday goods and services. You wouldn't need to trust that the bank would give you your gold. You'd have it with you in your hand, ready to be spent on your terms privately. And nearly every single person, regardless of culture, language, or jurisdiction, would recognize its value. For thousands of years, this was made impossible because of an issue called the small coin problem. Without getting too far down the rabbit hole, which I can do in another video if people want me to, the small coin problem simply states that it's impractical at some point to make a coin smaller for a multitude of reasons. It mostly stemmed from limitations in money technology. It also causes issues with a monetary principle called fungibility. These are a couple of reasons the gold standard was necessary to begin with. You simply can't make a conventional coin small enough to buy a haircut, or a loaf of bread, or an ice cream cone. Not while it is also in an ideal form to carry around with you and be reasonably expensive to produce, defeating the purpose. The gold standard mostly worked to fix a lot of these issues in its day, but it really was a band-aid on a crack at best. Now imagine that you did have a coin that's small enough to use for small transactions using the wonders of modern technology. Imagine it's also practical to handle and transact in, and is also financially feasible to produce and circulate. You would have a solution to a 2.6 thousand year old problem, and you would essentially fix money. One Goldback is equal to 1/1000th of an ounce of pure gold. 1,000 Goldbacks is the same amount of meltable, recoverable gold as a 1 ounce gold coin, but in a much smaller increment. It may not look like a conventional coin because of its shape and depth, but if you think of it in the same way as a coin, you may start to see some of the benefits. Goldbacks come in 5 different sizes, which are interchangeable between one another with no loss of value either way. A single Goldback is 1/1000th of an ounce. A 5 Goldback is 5/1000th of an ounce, or if you reduce the fraction, 1/200th. A tenth is a 1/100th, a 25 a 1/40th, and a 50 1/20th of an ounce. They're all essentially their face value in thousandths of an ounce. It's just easier to track and contemplate a 1/20th ounce than 50 1/1000th of an ounce in the same way carpenters say 5/8 and not 10/16. And as mentioned, Goldbacks are completely interchangeable and fungible. You could take a 25 Goldback and trade it for 25 of the 1 Goldbacks with no change in value whatsoever on either side. This is known as fungibility, which is an essential element for money. That's why you can do the same with a $10 US bill and have a willing cashier break it for 10 singles and not be robbing the store or robbing yourself of any value. It's the same amount of dollars and it's the same amount of Goldbacks. Your typical legacy gold coins do not have this quality. If you have 10 1/10 ounce gold eagles, the premiums will make them much more valuable than one single ounce gold eagle, despite the melt value being the same between the two. This is why they are not ideal candidates for money. The reason that Goldbacks are fungible has a lot to do with how they're produced, but I want to stay on track, so I'll save that for a video specifically on fungibility I have planned for the future. In the meantime, I'm more than happy to explain to anyone who reaches out and wants to know. Essentially, the Goldback retains all of the benefits of gold, including its inability to inflate and devalue as opposed to the US dollar, but is in a form that is ideal for trading and transacting. It also does not require a third party like a bank vaulting a reserve asset to back it. To put it simply, the Goldback is the world's first physical, interchangeable gold money that is designed to accommodate even small transactions. While it is true that the Goldback may not be the solution for you if your goal is to simply get the most gold weight for your dollars, which is a valid strategy if your goal is to speculate on the gold market, Goldbacks may be the ideal solution for you if your goal is a free and stable money that's independent of all systems that fail us more and more with each passing day. About a decade ago, Bitcoin seemed it would be this solution. But even back then, to those that were honest with themselves, there were apparent and glaring issues. For starters, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that rely on blockchain are not exactly private because the ledger is visible to all as an essential component of the way the blockchain works. They also require electricity and the internet, and for most cryptocurrencies, save a few stable coins, are not backed by anything. Even those that are backed by metals and other assets fall victim to the same issues as reserve banking. They can also get nixoned. The US dollar, on the other hand, like all other fiat currencies, has a history of losing its value over time, while the Goldback and gold in general does not, making this an extremely attractive money. $1,000 of cash stored in your safe after 10 years will buy less and less goods and services than when you first stored them. The same can be said for traditional bank, checking, and savings accounts and other assets pegged to the US dollar. However, Goldbacks will buy the same, and in many cases, more goods and services as time goes on. This allows you to preserve your wealth and protect your future. While I am not a tax advisor, and none of this video is intended as financial or any other advice, it has been said that in some jurisdictions, some taxes are waived when utilizing gold and silver money, meaning you could save even more money when buying goods and services with a Goldback under these circumstances. Now, enter the naysayer. But Goldbacker 00, I've heard this tale before. They tried it in the mid-2000s with a product called the Liberty Dollar, and the creator went to prison. Not quite. The American Liberty Dollar, or ALD, was a private currency produced in the United States and were essentially just silver rounds. They were not minted under any legal authority. Despite being privately minted and having no legal backing as legal tender, specie or otherwise, they boasted a dollar value and could have looked conspicuously similar to U.S. legal tender coinage to an unsuspecting eye. That argument could, and was made, that may have been intentional. While I don't want to derail the topic from Goldbacks too much, I can assure you that the lessons learned by the Liberty Dollar fiasco have not been ignored in the slightest by the minds behind the Goldback, and I do not want to ignore this concern that some have made in good faith. I will make 2 points about this and then move on for now. I can make another video on this topic if people wish me to. First, the Goldback looks absolutely nothing like a US dollar. The color is different, it has women as opposed to men on it, says clearly it is not U.S. legal tender, is oriented vertically, are different sizes, different colors of ink, different denomination sizes, made out of a different material and texture, and the list just goes on and on. There is simply no reasonable way a foreigner or even a blind man could confuse a Goldback with a Federal Reserve note. Secondly, and finally, Goldbacks enjoy legal protections that the Liberty Dollar simply did not. Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution states that, quote, "No state shall coin money, emit bills of credit, or make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts." In 2011, Utah passed the Utah Legal Tender Act, which meant the state now recognizes gold and silver as legal tender in the state of Utah. This is one of many reasons the Goldback is a Utah Goldback or a Nevada Goldback, or my favorite, a New Hampshire Goldback, and not simply a universal Goldback. The legal authority for states to issue and or recognize gold and silver as legal tender is recognized by the U.S. Constitution. And in states that exercise that authority under Article 1, Section 10, Goldbacks enjoy many protections as a voluntary local currency. While they are not designed or intended to circulate outside of these jurisdictions, gold is still gold, and a convenient form of gold to barter or trade is still the same no matter where you are, meaning they maintain their protections anywhere in the country under the U.S. Constitution, as well as their intrinsic monetary value. Another common question that comes up often is, why don't I just use junk silver? While I plan on making a video specifically on this topic, I'll touch on that a bit as well. While it is true, silver dimes are pretty neat silver to collect in my opinion, I have some myself, they are not as wildly recognizable as valuable to the general public. A silver dime may be worth about $2, but that won't get you very far if the economy collapses and the other person you're bartering with thinks it's only worth 10 cents of worthless fiat. They may think you're trying to cheat them or fraud them if they're not familiar with precious metals. Gold, however, is recognizable by everyone as valuable, and as mentioned earlier, there is no U.S. fiat currency that looks anything close to a Goldback. Another point, they stopped minting silver dimes and quarters over 60 years ago. There simply are not enough of them to fulfill the sheer number of money instruments required to fuel day-to-day transactions for every man, woman, and child, and attrition renders less available every single day. Final point. Far more than half of the world's supply of silver every year is not used for money. It is used in industry. As the world turns to photovoltaic cells, electric cars, and other green energy sources, this percentage will probably only rise. The same for copper and copper pennies. Our silver is in our cell phones, and our copper is in our electrical wiring. They're industrial metals now, no longer monetary metals. This is not true to the same degree for gold, and certainly not for Goldbacks. No one's going to confuse a Goldback for a 10-cent fiat face value, and everyone sees gold as valuable. More and more are made every single year, and there's an exponential growth curve in both demand and production. Attrition will not weather this money out of existence. A final good faith criticism I commonly hear with Goldbacks is, why are the premiums so gosh darn high? I can promise you that a premium does not mean nearly as much as you've been trained to believe, at least not under all circumstances. As I mentioned earlier, if your goal is to stack for weight and you're attempting to get as much gold as possible for your dollars so you can speculate on the gold price, then go buy 100-ounce gold bar or gold shot. But good luck bartering or transacting in either, or even convincing the other party they're real and not filled with a lead core, or purchasing something not worth $200,000, which is my very point. There has never been a single fake Goldback produced, and likely will not be a convincing one ever produced, because of the technology behind the way they're made and how thin the gold is. It's just not financially viable to fake. When you want to stack bullion, stack bullion. When you want money, use real money. The premium on a US dollar is nearly unlimited. They cost cents to produce, yet you'll still happily accept a $100 bill if I say I'll give it to you for many multiples of the underlying melt value, say $5 worth of goods and services, in exchange for the $100 bill. You'll do this because you know that you can turn around and spend it yourself for a negative spread. You realize with a US dollar, a money instrument, the spread is infinitesimally more important than the premium. You'd probably, and likely regularly do, accept a much less spread with the US dollar, because when you think money, you don't think of a premium. You think of what the spread will be as you pass that money instrument to the next person on the line. The same is true for a Goldback. You could acquire one for $3.85 today, and then turn around and spend it for $4.30 worth of goods and services, so remind me again why I should care about a premium. It's still in a far better position than your US dollars, as money has an infinitely smaller premium and has infinitely more utility than gold shot or a 100-ounce gold bar. Ultimately, it's my experience, some will hold on to this dogmatic repulsion of the Goldback because of the old axiomatic belief system of premium bad, and will not see the difference between stacking bullion and gold money. In my experience, they tend to be older stackers who have been doing the same strategy for 50+ years and will likely not change their tune overnight. They probably will be the last people sold on this. At the end of the day, seeing is believing when you've been on this earth for so long, because there's so many FTX stories that occur in a lifetime, it will make your head spin. So I really don't fault them for it. But I believe with a little more hard work and community building, we can continue to prove the Goldbacks are viable and continue to expand monetary liberty to more and more communities. I upload videos on this subject and related subjects, so please consider subscribing if interested. If you have any subjects you'd like me to make a video on, I'm always open to suggestions. If you are interested in signing up for the UPMA, which is free, easy, does not attach to your social security number, or even require any payment methods to get started, please check out my video titled How to Sign Up for the UPMA. The UPMA offers free vaulting for Goldbacks. If you are not aware of what the UPMA is and want to learn more, check out my video titled What is the UPMA for more information. I will leave links to both videos in the video description. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Leave a comment, message me, or reach out directly through my contact information on my Linktree.